Greetings. This is God Voice TV channel. Welcome to the House of Ithiel, a spirit from God. Dear lovely viewers all over the world, on the 18th of September 2024, the man of God, Prophet Favor, Ithiel, gave a prophetic word concerning Android phones. The prophet said a lot of things will begin to develop on these phones. 2 months later, after this prophecies, it came to pass. Let us listen and hear what the prophet said and its fulfillments.
Also, this has to do with phone. I saw Android phone. The restrictions of this phone. When I say restriction of this phone, like something has to do with, they install something that has to do with that green thing that they call the panel. Because of this, there will be restriction of Android phone. They will restrict it also in a particular place and country, because a lot of things will be discovered what is happening on phone. This is your phone that you use.
And developing this hour, news of a massive and ongoing hacking of U.S. telecommunications networks. That has government officials warning Americans to use encrypted messaging apps. U.S. officials saying this unprecedented hacking campaign by China impacted more than half a dozen U.S. firms, and dozens of other nations also impacted. It has been dubbed Salt Typhoon by Microsoft after it was first identified in October. Scripps News White House correspondent Serena Marshall joins me now live from Washington. And Serena, this is a big deal. Just how widespread was this campaign?
Yeah, Patrick, this was widespread, really broad in scope. But I think about if you ever text somebody, if you're not using iMessage or Signal or WhatsApp, those probably aren't encrypted. We get that little green bubble when texting from an iPhone, that's not encrypted, which means that this was likely, those texts, those messages were likely subjected to this hacking. It was so broad and it lasted years, 1 to 2, according to a government official. And that's why the White House is responding. They said they've put together a broad coalition, a unified coordination group in order to respond. They've been briefing the president routinely on this hacking. They say it's done by a Chinese group connected to the government, and that it is so widespread, so ongoing, really targeting those vulnerabilities in telecommunications systems, that it has hit dozens of countries and at least 8 U.S.-based telecom companies, including Verizon, AT&T. And so the president being briefed on this, it's an ongoing event, and what they're doing is they're really trying to gather a broad swath of telecom information. Here in Washington, for example, if you were in this area and on one of those networks and used an unencrypted device, probably got wrapped up in this hacking, and then they're trying to narrow it down, siphon it off to just find those high-ranking government officials, and then get information from those officials, who they called, who they spoke to, who they texted, and target them. Now, so far, the White House says they don't believe they have gotten any classified information from any of these hackings just yet. But because it is so ongoing and so high profile, there was a senator's briefing by U.S. intelligence officials just last night. Now, CISA, that's the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, and the FBI have released guidance to these telecommunications companies on how to harden down their networks to stop this ongoing hack and prevent it from happening again in the future. And so far, all of those affected companies are responding. However, until they change this, until they harden those networks, they said it will still continue. Now, encryption, again, that is your friend, using those other networks that help encrypt those text messages for you will help prevent this. China, though, has said that they are not part of this. In a statement, they said the U.S. needs to stop its own cyber attacks against other countries and refrain from using cybersecurity to smear and slander China. But remember, Patrick, it was just this past October that federal officials said that both then presidential candidate Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, were both subjected to hackings by the Chinese government, as well as those associated with Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign. Patrick?
Important story there.
We've got your back is our message to Australian parents. We've asked a question repeatedly on the show. How do we regulate social media for children? How do we protect children from harmful content? Well, Australia has tried to answer this question. Their parliament passed a legislation on Thursday. It has banned social media for children under 16. They cannot use the likes of TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. I guess that's one way to go. Forget regulation, ban the whole thing. Australia is the first country to try something like this. Their Prime Minister says it is all about protecting kids.
Platforms now have a social responsibility to ensure the safety of our kids is a priority for them. We're making sure that mums and dads can have that different conversation today and in future days. We've got your back is our message to Australian parents.
Big tech obviously is not happy. They're calling this law vague and concerning. Meta says it was rushed through without weighing the evidence.
See how far the eyes of Jesus Christ can reach. Yes, even in our situations, this is to remind us that Jesus Christ sees it and He is concerned about it, to grant us solutions to our problems. Do not forget, this channel is all about Jesus Christ. Keep watching God Voice TV for the salvation of souls.